Last week, I watched my 28-year-old neighbor Alex agonize for 3 days about whether to invest in a Roth IRA or pay an extra $200 toward his student loans. 3 full days of stress, spreadsheets, Reddit threads, the whole thing. Meanwhile, my 52-year-old coworker David just casually mentioned he's trying to figure out if he should finally start saving for retirement or pay off his mortgage first. And here's what hit me. Alex is stressing about a decision that matters, but probably won't make or break his financial future. David is stressing about a decision that could literally determine whether he retires at 65 or 75, and he should have been thinking about this 15 years ago. They're playing completely different financial games, but nobody ever told them the rules change every decade. So Alex is over-optimizing things that don't matter yet, and David is scrambling to fix things that should have been handled in his 30s. My name is RP, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people make the wrong financial moves at the wrong times in their lives. If you're someone who knows you should be doing something with your money, but you're not sure what to prioritize based on where you actually are in life, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because here's the thing, the financial advice that's perfect for someone in their 20s is absolutely terrible advice for someone in their 40s, and yet we treat personal finance like there's this one-size-fits-all strategy that works for everyone. There isn't. Your financial strategy should completely change every decade of your life, and what I'm going to show you today is exactly what you should be focusing on and what you should be ignoring based on your age. Not generic advice, specific moves with actual dollar amounts and timelines. Before we dive into each decade, I need to explain something that most financial advice completely misses. You're not just building wealth at different stages, you're playing different financial games entirely. In your 20s, you're playing the income game. In your 30s, you're playing the optimization game. In your 40s, you're playing the acceleration game. In your 50s, you're playing the protection game. And here's what most people don't realize. If you try to play the wrong game for your age, you waste years spinning your wheels. There's research from Vanguard showing that people who optimize their strategy by decade accumulate on average 47% more wealth by retirement than people who use the same strategy throughout their entire working life. 47% just from doing the right things at the right time. Alright, let's start with your 20s, and I'm going to say something that's going to piss off a lot of personal finance people. If you're in your 20s, obsessing about investing is probably a waste of your mental energy. I know, everyone's screaming about compound interest and starting early and time in the market, and yes, those things matter, but here's the math nobody talks about. Let's say you're 25 and you scrape together $3,000 a year to invest. You do this religiously for 10 years. At an 8% return, by the time you're 35, you'll have about $47,000. Great start. But what if instead you spent those 10 years aggressively increasing your income? You switched jobs strategically, you developed high-value skills, you negotiated raises, you built a side income. If you go from making $45,000 at 25 to making $85,000 at 35, which is absolutely achievable if you're strategic, you've just increased your annual income by $40,000, and now you can invest $15,000 a year without even feeling it, while that first person is still grinding to invest $3,000. Here's your 20s priority list. Priority number 1. Increase your income. This is the only thing that matters in your 20s. Not investing, not buying a house, not fancy budgeting apps. Income. Your goal should be to increase your income by at least 50% between ages 22 and 30. That means switching jobs every 2 to 3 years. Job hoppers make 20 to 30% more than loyal employees over the same time period. Developing high-value skills, coding, sales, marketing, design, whatever's valuable in your field. Negotiating every offer. Even a $3,000 negotiation at 25 compounds to over $90,000 in lifetime earnings. Priority number 2, build a $5,000 emergency fund. Notice I didn't say 6 months of expenses, I said $5,000. That's enough to handle most emergencies without going into debt, but not so much that you're sacrificing income growth to build it. Priority number 3, paid off high-interest debt. Anything above 7% interest needs to die. Credit cards, personal loans, whatever. But student loans at 4%? Don't stress about those yet. Priority number 4. Invest just enough to get the 401k match. If your employer matches up to 4%, invest 4%. That's free money. But don't go crazy trying to max out your 401k when you're making $50,000 and could be investing that energy into income growth. What not to do in your 20s. Don't buy a house unless you're 100% sure you're staying in that city for 7+ years. Don't max out retirement accounts at the expense of income growth. And don't stress about optimization. You don't have enough money yet for it to matter. Okay, now we hit your 30s, and this is where the game completely changes. You should be making significantly more money than you were in your 20s. If you're not, you played the 20s wrong, and you need to urgently course correct. Your 30s are about taking that increased income and actually building wealth through optimization. This is when the boring stuff starts mattering. Here's your 30s priority list. Priority number 1, aggressively build your net worth. Your goal in your 30s should be to have a net worth equal to your annual income by age 30, and 3 times your annual income by age 40. So if you're making $80,000 at 30, you should have $80,000 in net worth, assets minus debts. By 40, you should have $240,000 if you're still making $80,000, or ideally more if your income has grown. According to research from Thomas Stanley, the author of The Millionaire Next Door, people who hit these benchmarks have a 78% chance of retiring as millionaires. People who don't hit these benchmarks have less than 15% chance. Priority number 2, max out tax-advantaged accounts. This is when you should be maxing out your 401k, $23,000 in 2024, Roth IRA, $7,000, and HSA, if you have one, $4,150 for individuals. Why does this matter more now than in your 20s? Because you presumably have the income to do it without sacrificing your lifestyle, and you have 25 to 30 years of compound growth ahead of you. Let me show you the math. If you max these accounts from age 30 to 60 with an 8% return, you'll have approximately $2.8 million at retirement. If you wait until 40 to start, you'll only have $1.2 million. That 10-year delay costs you $1.6 million. Priority number 3, buy a house, maybe. Notice I said maybe. Here's the thing. Buying a house in your 30s makes sense if you're staying in one place for at least 7 years, you can afford 20% down without wiping out your emergency fund, and your total housing costs, mortgage, insurance, taxes, maintenance, are under 30% of your gross income. If those 3 things aren't true, keep renting and invest the difference. There's this myth that renting is throwing money away, but you know what's actually throwing money away? Being house poor in your 30s and having no liquidity to invest when the market dips. Priority number 4, increase your emergency fund to 6 months. In your 30s, you likely have more responsibilities, maybe kids, maybe a mortgage, definitely more to lose. You need a real emergency fund now, 6 months of expenses minimum. Priority number 5, get your insurance right. This is boring but crucial. You need term life insurance if you have dependents, 20 to 30x your annual expenses in coverage, disability insurance covering 60 to 70% of your income, and umbrella liability insurance if your net worth is over $500,000. What not to do in your 30s. Don't buy a house just because you should. Run the actual numbers. Don't ignore retirement because you're focused on your kids' college. Your retirement comes first. Don't stop increasing your income. Aim for at least 20% growth over the decade. Alright, you're 40s, and this is where things get real, because you're running out of time to fix mistakes. If you're in your 40s and you're not on track for retirement, you need to urgently change your entire financial life. There's no "I'll get to it later." Later is now. Here's your 40s priority list. Priority number 1. Catch up aggressively. The IRS allows catch-up contributions starting at age 50. You can put an extra $7,500 into your 401k and $1,000 into your IRA.
But honestly, if you're 40 and you don't have at least 2 to 3x your income saved for retirement, you should be treating this like an emergency and finding ways to save 25 to 30% of your gross income. I know that sounds impossible, but here's the alternative: working until you're 75 or living in poverty in retirement. Those are your options if you don't get serious now. Priority number 2, maximize your peak earning years. Statistically, your 40s and early 50s are your peak earning years. You have the most experience, the most skills, the most connections. This is not the time to coast. This is the time to leverage everything you've built to maximize income, whether that's moving into leadership positions, consulting or freelancing at premium rates, starting a business based on your expertise, or aggressively negotiating compensation. A study from PayScale found that earnings peak around age 48 for most professions. You need to capitalize on this window. Priority number 3, pay off all non-mortgage debt. By your mid-40s, you should have 0 consumer debt, no car loans, no credit cards, no personal loans, nothing except maybe your mortgage. Why? Because debt in your 40s is stealing from your retirement. Every dollar going to debt payments is a dollar that could be growing for the next 20 years. Priority number 4, get serious about retirement math. You need to actually calculate what you need for retirement, not vague ideas, actual numbers. Here's a simple framework. You need 25 to 30x your annual retirement spending saved by the time you retire. So if you want to spend $60,000 a year in retirement, you need $1.5 to $1.8 million saved. Social Security might cover $20,000 to $30,000 of that, so you need your portfolio to generate the rest. If you're 45 and you don't have at least 5 to 6x your current income saved, you're behind. Not a little behind, significantly behind. Priority number 5, optimize for tax efficiency. In your 40s, you're likely in your highest tax bracket. This is when tax optimization actually matters. Consider maxing out pre-tax 401k contributions to reduce taxable income, doing Roth conversions in years when your income dips, tax loss harvesting in your taxable accounts, and using HSAs as a triple tax-advantaged retirement account. What not to do in your 40s? Don't sacrifice retirement savings to pay for your kids' college. They can get loans. You can't get retirement loans. Don't assume you'll work a few extra years. 20% of people are forced into early retirement due to health or job loss. Don't invest in risky, get-rich-quick schemes because you're behind. You'll just get more behind. Your 50s are about protecting everything you've built and making the final push towards retirement. This is not the time for aggressive risk-taking. This is the time to make sure you actually get to the finish line. Here's your 50s priority list. Priority number 1, maximize catch-up contributions. At 50, you can contribute an extra $7,500 to your 401k and $1,000 to your IRA. Do it. Every year, no exceptions. If you maximize contributions from 50 to 65 with catch-ups at an 8% return, you'll add approximately $900,000 to your retirement savings. Priority number 2, shift your asset allocation. In your 50s, you should start gradually de-risking your portfolio, not drastically, but meaningfully. A common rule, your bond allocation should roughly equal your age. So at 55, maybe 55% stocks, 45% bonds. By 60, maybe 60% bonds, 40% stocks. Why? Because you don't have time to recover from a major market crash. If you're 55 with everything in stocks and the market drops 40% 30%, you might not recover before you need that money. Priority number 3, eliminate your mortgage. This is controversial, but hear me out. Entering retirement with a paid-off house dramatically reduces the income you need. If you have 10 years until retirement and $150,000 left on your mortgage, paying an extra $600 a month will eliminate it by retirement. That's $600 a month you don't need to pull from your portfolio in retirement, which means you need roughly $180,000 less saved overall. Run the math for your situation. Often, paying off the mortgage makes more sense than people think. Priority number 4, plan your Social Security strategy. When you claim Social Security matters enormously. Claiming at 62 versus 70 can mean a 76% difference in monthly benefits. For most people, delaying until 70 makes sense if you can afford to, but this requires planning in your 50s, not scrambling at 62. Priority number 5, get your estate planning done. You need an updated will, a living trust if your estate is over $500,000, healthcare directives, power of attorney documents. Most people die without these things, and it creates chaos for their families. What not to do in your 50s. Don't assume you'll keep working into your 70s. Plan for retirement by 65. Don't take Social Security early unless you absolutely have to. Don't ignore healthcare costs in retirement. They're massive. Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. Most people reading this are behind where they should be for their age. According to the Federal Reserve, the median retirement savings for people aged 55 to 64 is $120,000. That's not enough, not even close. But here's what I want you to understand. Being behind doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you need to make different choices going forward. If you're in your 30s and you haven't started, you have time, but you need to start now. If you're in your 40s and you're behind, you can still fix this, but it requires sacrifice. If you're in your 50s and you're significantly behind, you can still retire, but you might need to work longer or live more frugally. The worst thing you can do is ignore it and hope it works out. Look, I get it. This is overwhelming. You're sitting there thinking about everything you should have done differently. But here's the truth. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. Wherever you are, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, there's a specific set of moves you should be making right now. Stop trying to do everything. Stop following generic advice. Just focus on what matters for your specific decade. If you're in your 20s, focus on income. If you're in your 30s, focus on optimization. If you're in your 40s, focus on acceleration. If you're in your 50s, focus on protection. That's it. That's the whole game. If this helped you out, make sure to subscribe because I break down financial strategies like this every week, always focused on what actually works in real life. And drop a comment telling me what decade you're in and what your biggest financial challenge is right now. I read every single one. All right, I'll see you in the next one.